Hey everybody, Billy Robbins back with another quick video, and I had some really great responses from the last video I made on discomfort, pain, and solutions, and the vicious cycle that happens when we allow the pain and the pressure to steer us to seeking distractions rather than really solving, creating solutions. And I thank everybody who took time to respond and send me some messages, and a lot of the conversations I've had with people since that time has made me think about the topic a little bit more. And on this video, I want to talk more about that discomfort, that place that we get hit, where we have a choice. We have a choice to kind of numb the pain, to go through these comfort cycles that really just end up making things worse, versus the opportunity to face that discomfort and to go and create something new, to break free from pain, to become more, to deal with the situation. And so, if we think about it, what is that moment when we walk into it? When we walk into it, we get hit and we feel it, right? You feel it when maybe a loved one says something a certain way, or a business thing happens, or we stood on a scale, or whatever the case may be, and we're like, in that moment, what is that? It's resistance. We've now hit a moment where you can feel it, right? The weight of the world is on me, or you feel like you're walking uphill, right? It almost feels like there's a weight. In fact, when you're really under it, don't you almost kind of bow down and you feel heavy, you feel like this weight, you feel resistance upon you. Now, the interesting thing about resistance, pressure, the weight, is resistance in itself is not really negative. There's actually a negative side to resistance, and there's a positive side to resistance. There's both. And oftentimes in the situation that we're posed with, the difference between negative and positive is more mental. It's more how we think about it and what we deal with it. Now, I'll tell you right now, there are also very times where resistance is just flat out evil. It's flat out negative. Came from the pit of hell. Came to destroy you, came to knock you out. And likewise, we can still use that resistance for our good. I remember years ago thinking about resistance and thinking about some pain that I was in. And I was praying like crazy. I was like, God, take this away. God, take this away. God, take this away. You may have prayed those prayers before, and I don't think they're bad at all. But God spoke to me so clearly, and he said, you know what? You think that I'm a magician, but most of the time, I act more like a personal trainer. And what does that mean? Now, are there times where God just intervenes and boom, takes the situation away? Everything unravels, everything gets great? Yeah, absolutely, that happens. But most of the time, what's actually happening is that the Lord is bringing circumstances, life, weight, so that we can press against the resistance and form our character. Think about it. You go to the gym, there's weights. It's resistance. It's literally resistance. There's resistant training, right? If you go to the gym and there's nothing heavy, there's no weight to push against, you wouldn't become different. You wouldn't become in shape. The same thing in life. We have to press against the weight and the resistance that comes to us, and it forms us. It forms our mental capacity, our emotional capacity, our faith, our love, our joy. Well, it has the opportunity to do those things. Because sometimes when resistance comes and we choose not to press and we choose for the weight to come on us, it can actually crush us. It can weigh us down. It can knock us down. And and again, going back to the personal trainer analogy for God. What do personal trainers do? They encourage us. They create accountability. I'm going to be right here. Guess what? God's going to be right here through the situation. And he says, and I will never give you more than you can handle. What's that? He's a spotter. All right, you might be laying down on the bench press of life, and you get a few 25s on, and you're like, yeah, all right, I got this, feeling pretty good. But you're going to stop there? You're going to allow yourself to just be able to bench press 95 pounds? There's more. There's more for you. So what does God do? Puts on a little bit more weight, a little bit more weight. And again, some of the resistance that comes is a beautiful thing from God that he gives us to form us. Some of the resistance comes from our own negative and bad behavior. But guess what? God doesn't care. He still doesn't let it crush us. He still doesn't allow it to knock us off. So if we think about it in this context that there is this resistance and we're working out to develop, then all of a sudden we can have a brand new perspective for every difficulty that comes. Again, even if it's evil, even if you're dealing with some major disease. I mean, right now in this world, in this COVID-19 world, there are people who are freaking out online over resistance because they have to homeschool their child, or they can't go to the store, or they can't go hang out with friends, and they're freaking out. That's not real resistance. In this day, there are people that are dying. People have lost grandmothers, mothers, siblings, coworkers. Real people have been really affected at the deepest level by this. And for both cases, for those that are kind of freaking out on the trivial a little bit, and I don't blame you, I've been doing it, I've been freaking out, but it's been trivial. Honestly, my business has been greatly affected. It's trivial. It's trivial in the grand scheme of things. It's trivial. There are real people dealing with real things. And likewise, those people that are dealing with real things, that doesn't have to crush them either. That doesn't have to crush them. They can use that opportunity to press against the resistance. So let's talk about the two types of resistance, negative and positive resistance. And let's do it through some different domains in life. And let's think about what that means. So let's take a scenario like fitness that applies to resistance. Well, we just talked about that, right? You can't be fit without resistance. You can't get strong without resistance, right? The same thing applies to every domain of life. What about finances? Think about it. You can have resistance in your life because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. Maybe your business got hit really hard, and you don't have the money. You're going to freak out. What are you going to do? Well, I've been seeing brands. I've been talking to my clients. I've been thinking about myself, and they've been actually looking for new ways to do things. There's actually now new doors open. It's like, you know what? That way wasn't working anyway, and now with this time, we're going to start doing more online stuff, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that. And there's opportunities that comes from that pain. There's other things in different areas of our life, like the way that we hang out with our friends, or now doing it virtually, and how do we deal with relationships, right? I've been in the house with my wife and my kids nonstop, and in that moment there's resistance, there's pressure, but also there's opportunities to push past the pressure. Some of the things that we've been doing that have been beautiful have been like playing more board games together and looking across from each other. There's a relational resistance, but what are we going to do? Just fight, sit in our rooms, not talk? Actually, for us, and I thank God for this, that it's brought us closer together. We're spending more time together. We're doing funner things. We're not just sitting around watching TV and playing video games all day. And that's awesome. That's making investments. We're pushing against the pain in a positive way. And I can tell you right now, our family dynamic, the relationships with each other are going to be stronger after this because we pressed through. We pressed through the resistance. And the more you rep it out, the more you do, the stronger you get. And then you are blessed by God to have more resistance. Has that ever happened to you? Think about it. Have you ever had an opportunity where you've been so freaked out about something years ago? Maybe it was starting a business, dealing with a relational, financial issue, whatever the case may be. And in the moment, it was the end of it. It was the biggest, baddest, worst thing, and you didn't know how you're going to get over it. Now you look back and you're like, whoa, that was a stepping stone to where I am today. That made me think differently. That made me act differently. That made me become more. Think about this. This is ingrained in who we are. Think of every great story, every great narrative, right? I love the Lord of the Rings series. Movies are okay, but the book, amazing, right? This journey of somebody being called to adventure, right? Whether it's Frodo or Bilbo, right? There's this call to adventure. Life's easy and we're in comfort land, right? The Shire was the perfect example of that comfort dynamic that so many people seek. I don't want to do too much to make anything too crazy. I don't want to try anything too hard. I just want to make everything peaceful. In their peace definition, the absence of pain. But there's a call to an adventure. And when you accept that adventure, when you accept to maximize your life, when you accept to maximize your business, your relationship, everything that you were made to do, when you decide to go off on that venture, I can guarantee why God designed you, the gift, the call that He put in your life is going to make you push through series and series and series of resistance so that you are stronger, that you can take on more, that you can see and feel and understand the power of God in your life, and that you can take that and you can go and share it with other people. Have you ever done that? Have you ever overcome something so crazy and then all of a sudden all these other people appear that are dealing with a similar situation, and now you get to invest and share how you overcame that situation? And the very thing that destroyed you or is trying to destroy you now becomes a vehicle of love and light that you get to go and give to somebody else. That is amazing. But that's how we can deal with resistance. Because see, weight and the pressure of life gives you two choices. It's either going to break you and tear you down, or it's going to make you stronger. And again, it's less to do with what has come at us and our perspective. It's more to do with how we look at the problem, how we want to overcome it, our pursuit to coming and to solving that issue and pushing through that pain. And that's the best part. Every time you push through, you get a little bit stronger. You can deal with a little bit more. And so right now, as you think about, write down the 3 things that are just devastating you right now, crushing you, weighing you down, creating that anxiety. And say, how can I now, in this moment, with this pressure, behave, respond, think in a way that will take that negative and turn it into a positive? And honestly, that's probably the best place that you can be. Honestly, you should either be on cloud 9 or you should be struggling with something. Because the scary place is the middle, where you don't really hurt enough to change, but you're not really happy, you're not really satisfied. So you live in a vicious cycle of self-medication and distraction just to numb yourself day after day after day. And then next thing you know, 10 years went by and you didn't make any progress, maybe even slid a little bit. Now, don't let that get you down. Just know that 10 years is going to happen real quick, 5 years, 1 year. Growth happens quick when you decide to rep it out, when you decide to do the weights. So what are those weights, the resistance that God has put in your life that he's asking you to, with him, rep it out? Because he will be there. He will spot you. He will not let it crush you. So how can you grab those weights and rep it out now? And so be intentional about that. On our next video, or one of our next videos, I'm going to share with you a plan, a strategy, a way to do that. But right now, this is a great chance to take inventory. Look at that. Don't say it's not a problem. Don't rationalize it. Don't say it's not that bad. Don't say, well, I don't look that bad, or my money's not that bad. Don't do that. That's just a form of distraction. I'm going to lie to myself long enough to think that this isn't a problem. It's a problem. Let it be known. A weight is a weight. You go to the gym. There's a difference between 20 pounds and 50 pounds. There is a difference. There's supposed to be, because you get to graduate up to 50 pounds, 75 pounds, and so on. So don't try to wish the problem away. Don't try to pretend it's not there. Let it hurt, but let it hurt good. And instead of letting it come and attack you and tear you down, you attack it. You pick it up and you rep it out. And you pray for help. And you find friends that can support you. And you get accountability and everything that you can. But you grab that weight and you rep it out. And what it's going to do is develop you and form you into the very person that you need to be to go and achieve the grand, glorious purpose for why you're here. You've got this. And you've got the support from the God of the universe. God of the universe. Think about when Jesus was in the garden. When Jesus was in the garden, he actually kind of talked a little bit about the magician personal trainer idea. Not in that great context. But what he said, Father, if at all possible, take this cup from me. But nevertheless, your will be done. Isn't that the beautiful part? Jesus was saying, could you please take this away? Could you be the magician? Just poof, make it go away. But if that's not what you have planned for me, if it's not, then no problem. Your will be done, because I know that you're with me and I know that this is what you want. And so God's calling you to that right now. Think about it. The greatest benefit, the greatest blessing, the greatest good you can do for your family, your friends, your community, yourself, is to decide that you will press through, that you will rep it out. So look at those weights, look at them differently, pick them up, and rep it out. All right, hope you guys found this helpful. Thanks.